Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, Vidula, I can
Ah.
hear you now. Yeah. We're just waiting for Tanushree, but we'll wait another couple of minutes and then join and then start. But just a little correction from what we did last week. The,
Oh,
um, the mud cloth that we made, the mud cloth design. So after we finished our class, I still had to do a couple of classes during which I continued to read more about this mud cloth. And what I found, so this is what happens when you're doing Google search. The worst thing is to search in the first 3 pages. I got some more important information in the fourth page. And I think I've just decided now I'm going to start doing that. Start from fourth and then come back to, because it's no longer most relevant. It's just the most popular or most advertised.
oh,
So it's really unfair. Remember about the mud cloth, how we made the design? We we started blocking out the areas in which we wanted to color, and then we painted the black part around it. But that's because that's how we saw the finished design. However, on another website, what I found was it was an article, it wasn't a documentary. So, in that article, what I found was a picture in which they have shown that this artist has first made the black lines. So, they use a very thick brush and dip that in the black mud, and then they apply and repeat it in repeated strokes on the fabric, and you'll notice that most of it is anyway geometric. So you start with, say, one rectangle, and then you mark another rectangle, and then you mark spaces in that. And once that has been placed, that itself works like a grid onto which then they will take another color, and then parts of those open spaces between the black is what they will color with uh, a,
oh,
a thicker mordant color that will be yellow, or maybe the red paint that they have, and then leave all of that in the sun, and they could come back and paint some more before washing it, so that the color gets deeper and deeper. So even more black, more mud, and more red to make it deeper. And then they wash the whole thing after about a week of drying. So when we made the design, we went about it very ulta. I just want to show you how they would do it, a better system of making it.
but when we are doing it on paper, I
Huh.
mean, it would be okay to follow our process as long as we get a finished project that looks like this, right?
Well, also, if you get 1 minute, let me just come back with the right tools and I'll show you.
Sorry, sir.
I found it very difficult to do those golas, those round,
Cowrie
here.
shells.
Yes.
The
No, no,
cowrie
no.
shells.
No, between the two
Those.
V's. Yeah, it took so much time to, because it's all black. The background is black. So you have
Yeah.
to leave those round thingies.
That's when you feel like you need some poster paint,
So
white poster paint.
if you use a waterproof ink, for example, I'll try and make these two designs for you.
Yeah.
On this sheet. So I'm going to use just black ink. And a flat brush.
Yeah.
So this makes it a little easier to draw. I can use the flat part or turn it sideways to make a line like this. And if you can imagine that this is a much thicker tool, or I can use a thinner brush to adjust these edges. Then I'll have the second line here. And then I will,
Oh my goodness.
for this one,
Yeah.
I just have to do this.
I
And
know,
it will
but
be converted into a circle.
okay.
And then I will just make the black parts directly.
Right.
So we don't see this part. We don't
Yeah.
see this in the design. We see the finished design. That's the most amazing bit about this. So they make these patterns first. And it makes so much sense. Later on, I just literally, I was slapping myself for working this out. It's such a logical, simple design idea.
Yeah. Now you just fill the yellow up and you're done.
Yeah, now you can take a color pencil or something and fill this up. Now, even for this, it looks like a very complicated design. But if you start off with a cross, and then you just make these. And here,
Ah. And
you
then
can
you
just-
just turn these
So
into round.
easy. Yeah.
exactly. So we went about it
Okay.
Yeah,
completely
yeah,
ulta.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
this is so, looks so easy also.
It does. It
Yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah. Makes sense.
Then,
Absolutely.
Ah, and
Yeah.
then that, and then one little one.
Hannah, are you seeing the design
Yeah,
now?
yeah, totally. Honestly, they must be that. We are wondering how they do such complicated things in cloth with such thick things. And this is
Exactly.
so much easier. No wonder they make cloth so much of it. Otherwise, I think I would have given up making cloth.
I know. It would have been a
Too
very tedious
difficult.
process
Yeah.
making it the
Now,
way
and
we
it's,
make it.
yeah, and especially if it's three colors, black, the yellow, the reds, and then you go over and over with ones you want darker. That's it.
Correct. So
Oh,
with this now, even if you want to practice this, you can make these designs and then use color pencils, because now this
yeah,
is not waterproof. So I can use color
yeah,
pencils or crayons and fill
right.
up the design in between.
Wow.
So much
Also the
easier.
rounds. Perfect. Nita, the rounds.
God, I've spent so many hours doing the chota.
Good practice, but never mind.
Yeah.
Nothing goes to waste.
Yeah. I have to finish because I was worried about these. I
Oh,
still haven't
you
done this.
still haven't. Now you do it like this.
Yeah, this line I was so scared to approach. I don't know what to do. Now it will be easier.
Now it'll be easier. So wherever you have these tiny dots or small shapes like these, you'll always find that there are some parallel lines happening. So those places you can just run your color through. It's a lot easier then.
And this zigzag is actually just one breath of the brush down, like tuck, 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 tuck. That's it. Black.
Correct. Like
Yeah.
teeth.
That's teeth. That's it. And you get your zigzag.
Correct.
Perfect.
Isn't it lovely? So you make teeth from this side and then this side. This side,
Ah.
this side.
So now you know this is almost like actually seeing the negative, the other side
Correct.
of the a way of doing it, the negative way
Exactly.
of doing it. Amazing. Okay.
All right. So let's
So
start
what?
with our,
Yeah, you can just tell us about the Norwegian art before.
there she is. Just come perfectly
good.
on time. Okay, so I'm going to share some videos, a whole list of videos, hopefully that you can watch.
We still haven't got the Inuit one.
Oh, you haven't? Okay,
No.
I'll
we
send.
haven't done that. Okay.
If you can just remind me, if I don't send you
Yes.
this
Yes.
evening, just
I'll
remind
remind.
me.
Yeah.
All right, so Rosemaling is nothing but rose painting. That's how
Oh.
Maling is just painting.
Okay.
And the pictures I've sent to you, they show you a whole range of rose illustrations that were made for about 200 years or so. So this is not a very old native tradition, but there is the thought is that they've been doing this kind of painting for a long time, but they just don't have enough artifacts left over, because much of this was painted on wood or on wooden homes and all of that. The climate over there is so harsh that it does not really preserve things like houses or wooden items. So they have dates from the late 18th century onwards. And there is some kind of connection between a style called Rococo and Baroque. That's a European painting style, which was prevalent at that time. And some aspects of that style are evident in Rosemaling in Norway. Now, we don't know whether there's a tie between the paintings and this style, or whether it's just that these colors are more readily available, and this style of painting was more closer to that whole Viking era or their kind of art. So that is a complete separate thing that is not connected to the Rosemaling as much as it might feel, but there are certain ideas of curves used a certain way, interlinking of certain vines, which reminds us of the Celtic arts, which is all about creating knots. That was more Viking. So these Rosemaling were used mostly for decorating your regular artifacts. They're not used as paintings. Only now, in more contemporary times, those Rosemaling have been converted into paintings that you can put up on your walls. You can send as greeting cards, even as tattoos, t-shirts. People have been wearing them. So they're a very amorphous design. There aren't too many rules, but there are few characteristics of the Rosemaling. Now, this was in Norway, I think there are a number of valleys between all these mountains and fjords and whatnot. And each valley has a different style of Rosemaling.
Okay.
So how it happened was, apparently this was an alternate profession for fishermen. Wow. So the season that they were not fishing, they would do Rosemaling to supplement their income. So these guys, obviously the colors used were all natural colors. So you have things like iron oxide, you have this whole list of colors that one gets. You'll see very few yellows. There might be ochre that is available from the earth. And the colors also were very specific to the region, and then therefore that style developed around that those sets of colors. So I'm going to go through some of the pictures that I've shared and speak a little bit about these designs.
Aditi, Vidula here. So can you share the pictures? I haven't received the pictures yet.
Oh, you're not on this group? Okay.
No.
Okay, let me share.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll start seeing the pictures from reverse. Okay, so this is either a bowl or a plate or a board. A lot of circular items have Rosemaling painted on them. This looks like a wooden bowl. And there are a few characteristics that I want you to see, and then we'll be able to identify the different styles through that. The most important feature in all of these are the shapes. You have a C shape that's very evident. And then you have an S shape. And these were the two most basic shapes that were used in various compositions to create very complicated artworks. But if you think about it, they're all just a C beyond a C and then joined with an S. And by C, it doesn't always have to be turning towards the right. It could be turning towards the left also. This is even just straight. So this C form is very clearly visible. Now, the other thing that you will see in all of this is in this particular artwork, you have very complicated leaf designs which have a fold over. So the leaf in it folds into itself. Now, this is a very typical style of a region called Gudbrandsdal. So they used the leaf over here is called the acanthus leaf, and the history of the acanthus used in decorating artifacts comes from actually Roman times.
We had done a pillar with the acanthus.
Yeah, so there was a Roman architect from some 7th century or something like that, who saw the acanthus leaf or acanthus plant grow out of a basket called the cornucopia, and that inspired him to use that as an embellishment for many of his designs in architecture. And that design or that style of using leaves and interweaving leaves and leaves coming out from other leaves is seen since then. So 2000 years, people have just enjoyed this. The leaves are very pretty. The closest we can get to this leaf is the leaf of the Congress grass of all things. If you'll see it now growing like crazy. If you pick out the leaf, that leaf, it's a smaller leaf, not too big, but it also has these features. Now, the only rose part you see over here are some kind of unidentifiable flowers like these. So there are flowers, but not necessarily roses. Yet this is still called rose painting. All right. Now, in this particular case, you don't see those acanthus leaves that are folding into each other. The lines are a lot more simpler. And you see again the prominent C shape and S shapes. So they make this another C shape, S shape, and they make the backbone of the design. From each of these, you have these emerging C shapes and S shapes, almost like little stems. And then you have a whole range of flowers, which are again just brush strokes, but completely unidentifiable, almost fantasy-like flowers. So these are not realistic flowers at all. Now, this style is from a region called Telemark, Telemark, and it's very popular. This is the most popular of all the Rosemaling and is seen in many places, possibly because it is very loose, light flowing, and easy to replicate also. So for students, this is a very nice style to do. Then you have a third style where you have a very prominent flower. And all the design seem to center around this flower, even over here, if you can notice this. And everything else grows out of this flower. Very often, the design is, if you can see on the lid of this box, the design is definitely symmetrical in both directions. So you will see the same flowers on top and bottom and right and left. And but there is a central symmetry in this where there's only one flower at the top and one flower at the bottom in the center. Over here, you see again, they have continued the idea of a prominent central flower from where other things are emerging. So this style is the Hallingdal style. The other common thing about Hallingdal is that most of them have a red background. Now, this one is not the best example of a red background of a Hallingdal because it doesn't have the red background. But more often than not, a Hallingdal will be made on a red background. But it's not a rule. It's not as if they make it on another background, they are ostracized or anything. Then there is one more style, which is called the Rogaland. And here it's almost like a kaleidoscope. There is a whole lot of symmetry. It's not just linear. You have point symmetry also. Everything seems to be from whichever point you take it, there is some kind of symmetry. And very complicated designs. Here also there is a very large central flower. And as you go to the periphery, the size of the flower starts reducing. So these are only 4 that I studied in depth, but there are at least 5 other styles, which one of them is called the Oos style, the Valdress, Rosdom. This is the Rosdom, the next one. So this is a Rosdom style, which is characterized by a monochromatic red design on black background. So this is again very unusual, but is often seen in this region. Okay, now can you tell this style? Does this...
This is the first one, that acanthus leaf wala.
This is actually the second one, the Telemark,
Okay.
because you have a C shape and an S shape. Fantasy.
And the simple one, is it?
The simpler one. Then this one is the Hallingdal, because you have a large central flower. There is symmetry between left and right, but not top and bottom. And here are some samples of how these were used. These are just beautiful wooden panels, possibly used on cupboards or doors. And the colors are also very nice and subtle. They're not very jhadak. Now, this is another thing that was seen. They had this crosshatch pattern, like a grid line pattern. And one of the styles which had a lot of grid line was called Numedal. And Numedal is something that I've not found any information on, or hardly any, except for one very enthusiastic journal maker, bullet journal maker's notes on Reddit. I'm going to send it to you. Please, just for her sake, join Reddit and give her a thumbs up, because the amount of work she's done and the research has been brilliant. Okay, now this is a very loose style. I love it. It's very contemporary. This is in a church called Uvdal Stav Church. I think it's in the Telemark region, but this does not have any of the characteristics of the Rosemaling that we've seen, but except that it has a very prominent rose. So this was painted a very long time ago. So maybe the categorization of the Rosemaling happened later. But like I said, the style is, or the Rosemaling painting is generally a very free-flowing painting. So they allow for artists to have their own interpretations. They're not stuck up. Okay, here again, the moment you see all these bulbs doing this S and C, this is a Telemark. And the flowers also are just like a U shape, and an S, like a CCS. And they have enhancements or embellishments with these lighter colors. That makes it look very pretty. So this again, I like the idea. Something that one can learn from is not all colors need to stand out. Many of the bolder shapes are made in darker colors, and they are enhanced with these lighter lines, and the whole thing then becomes very impressive. Even the darker colors stand out much brightly without them being bright themselves. Now here's another style. Now I don't know whether it's a style or whether they've just used these acanthuses going round and round and round. Some flowers are recognizable, but this is obviously inside someone's home.
Why would they have a black guy on top?
I have no idea. I think, is it a
Girl.
man or a woman, or it's
I think it's a
Tahitian?
woman. It's like one black slave, the ones never used to
It
wear.
could be.
And
Yeah.
and it's so cold there. Nobody dresses like that except in Africa. So it's obviously something they've got from somewhere else.
Exactly. There is a gentleman wearing a suit over here and a
Oh, there
mermaid
is?
over here.
And there's a
Yeah,
mermaid dance. So
second
it's
panel.
obviously someone who's traveled a lot, probably
Yeah.
a sailor. Obviously, they're all sailors. First,
Correct.
they buy a boat, then they get married, then they buy a house. So, yeah. So,
So it
he's
must be
obviously
their
sailor.
travel stories. But isn't it lovely to
Yeah.
document something like that where the story is part of a design? It does not, you don't have to draw one person and the boat, and like we would imagine just like a montage. This almost seems to be flowing through time.
Yeah.
The leaves almost look like waves. So a lot of things are merged together.
Yeah, you got a moon and
Okay, now this is an instructional piece. So then I'm going to be sharing a site where they have these free resources available for you to draw from, literally. And I'm going to show you how you can recreate some of these. Okay, this is a nice one. I think we can recreate this one, the Rosemaling, which has nice bright colors, very much like we can recreate in our watercolor. The background will not be dark. Our background is going to be white. Okay, so if you have two devices, you can open up this one to see for yourself, and I'll show you how to create the skeleton. But before that, let me just show you my notes, which I'll be sharing.
this last one is not with us, is it?
It should be. It's the first picture.
No, the
That's
first
the
one is the
first
black
one.
and white. It's the black and white, right?
No, no, no.
Oh, sorry, it's in a
The
different
first
pose.
one.
Oh,
Before
okay.
she started the whole set of
Got it,
pictures.
got
Yeah.
it.
Okay, so I'm going to show you how you can just
Oh.
construct a black and white study of the
Lovely.
designs that I've shown you.
Such a nice page.
I'll share this with you, and also making observations according to how you see the design. That is also important. Here, at some point, I will put in some pictures. But this I'll
Wow,
share with
what
you.
a lovely little booklet.
I'm gonna be printing at some point, so you'll get that.
Yeah. Oh.
And this is something that I tried because I needed to know that we could recreate this with watercolor. So this is a Telemark, and this is the exact
Yeah.
picture
Yeah.
from the church. Now, also I wanted to show you that when this is a very nice exercise to do. When you see a nice design, do try to copy it the way it is, and write the details, the source of where you found that information, and also where maybe the building is from, because at a later date, you'll never remember where it's gone, and at least one source helps. So even for this, I will be sharing the sources so that you can search for yourself. Okay, now
Sorry, one second. Aditi, I don't have that picture that you sent that we're going to do now.
I've sent the whole lot to you. It should be the first picture of that series.
The one with the sketch and the painting?
No, this was sent separately with your message in the morning, meaning the first one. No, it was sent separately.
No, wait, Vidula, are you talking about this?
No, the one that we're going to do.
Yeah, so that one should be in the same lot that I sent to you. Oh, wait a minute. No.
Yeah,
Right.
it's separate.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Okay, now I'm going to be making a small reproduction of that design over here, not the whole page.
Okay.
Then I will be showing you a few brush strokes that will help you to recreate this design. I don't want to go through the process of the mud cloth and make the whole shape and then paint it. That's not how you're supposed to paint it. We can land up painting it like that, but that's not how it's supposed to be done. So I think you ought to know the right way.
And then the actual artwork will be on another page. So we leave place.
No, don't leave place.
Okay. Okay.
You can use this place for practicing.
Yeah.
And you can then make on a separate sheet also. And I'd actually recommend make it on an A5 size sheet so you can put it up. They look very nice as artworks to put up. Even if you want to put it up on the fridge, they look very good. All right. So if our design is going to be about this big, you need to identify where you need to start from. Because it's an exploding composition, you need to start in about 1/3 the space, because there will be at least 1/3 elements going up, 1/3 elements coming down. Very often we start too big because we tend to only calculate the central design, and then everything that has to go out then tends to go outward even more, and then outside of the page. So if this is how far you want to make your design, start your design in, if this is like 1/3 of the space, we are going to start it in a slightly lower area at 1/3. This may look ridiculous, but this will help. Now, from here, I'm looking at the design and I realize that I can make it about this big because that green swirl only goes so much. And then there's another blue swirl that goes down about so much. So right in the center, I'm making my first C. So this is going to be about 2 inches, scrolls inward like so. And on the other side, comes outward and scrolls like this. Now this is easy enough to draw, but when you're painting it, there's a chance that you might build it up with other strokes like this. So you'll first start off with a C shape that's here. To this, you will add a C shape that's here. Now notice that all of these C shapes come and converge towards the center. So they're not 3 different lines. They all converge somewhere near the center. And then there's a C over here. Then we have another C that goes and intertwines with the first one. So let it go through, let the line go through for now. And that too comes and attaches itself to this terminal here. Here, there isn't a ball terminal for the second one. It's more like a shape like this, like a teardrop shape. And then you have a teardrop over here and a teardrop here. Okay, are you seeing this in the design? This is the dark blue part of the design. Once this is done, we will make the flowers, which would be in this region. So I'm just drawing an oval over here, no details right now, and an oval here. You'll furnish the details in a bit, but this is just composing the picture. Now, assuming this the source of the next C shape, we will bring it down from one side, going down like this. From the top of the flower, we will make an S shape that will go out straight and turn. So this is a very subtle S shape. We are not going to make it like a Tamil letter character with an excess curve. It's a very subtle shape.
Aditi, can we go a little slow?
Yes, 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 yes. Okay, so where are you at? Are you at the flowers, Tanushri?
So I am almost there with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me
just
know
catch
when
up.
you're done. I
Okay.
wait for a cue from all of you.
All right.
When there's no complaining, then I start going faster.
No worries.
Acha, Aditi, can I ask you one question? There's so much of artwork online that you share with us. Where do we save all that? I've been trying to create a folder and putting everything there. But any other suggestion that you can? I've been doing it on a folder basically. So any other suggestion that you can give where I can, the video and the pictures and my own kind of notes and all online. I mean, this is all online.
So online, I don't know whether they have anything like a vault, but there is a chance
Okay.
you might find some place where you can store all your photos, like on cloud. You have iCloud, you have like Adobe has its own cloud, Zoom also
Okay.
has its own cloud. So it might be possible, even Google. On Google, you can save all these and you can make folders. So you could probably make folders for the subject, or you can make
Subject, yeah.
folders for the month, and you can download it onto your Google Drive. So it doesn't stay on your hard drive, but it can
Yes.
stay on your Google Drive.
Yes.
And
Yes.
depending
yes,
upon
yes.
how much space you have bought, because I think
Right.
they give you only 15 MB
Yes.
something, or 50
Hmm.
MB, and then you can purchase even up to a
Yes.
terabyte.
Yes. 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 Yes.
So you can do it that way. That's one way
Okay.
of going about it. Another is just download everything on a hard drive of your own. So get a big terabyte hard drive and just download and store everything, but do categorize it. Do keep.
Yeah, because that's very important. I realize, just downloading the stuff is not, you need to kind of create proper folders with everything in it.
Yeah.
Each file should have everything, theme
Correct.
wise.
And a lot of time your photographs, when they're downloaded, they come with a very different name. So there'll be a whole lot of numbers.jpg. So
Okay.
you need to convert that.
Rename them. Yeah,
You need to rename
yeah.
them either by the name of the class or the name of the class and the subject and the date. I put everything because then it's easier for me to go back.
So you save your things on Google Drive.
I save mine. No, I have a hard drive as well. So I save everything on hard drive. Most of the photos are saved on my Apple cloud. And what else is there? It's there in lots of places. I have a lot of stuff, but I'm consolidating it. Whenever I get time, I put it all on the hard drive because
Okay, but
eventually
only thing for okay. No, for me the only issue about hard drive is because I have an iPad Pro and there is no provision for transferring it from the iPad Pro to a hard drive. I
no,
don't know.
you'll have a jack. You'll have some kind of port from where you can attach. Like I have something like this,
Okay.
which helps me attach any other device with a USB.
Okay.
And then I just attach my hard drive and I copy everything. They will have to give you some kind of port because otherwise we can't.
No, they just have that C lightning. That's all. In mine, they have only one.
Yeah, so the same port that gives you that you can use for power, that same port will also help you attach an adapter
Attach,
to
yeah.
the
I'll have to,
USB
yeah. I'll have
driver.
to find something.
You'll get
Apple
that.
is quite strict about all this. They don't allow you to do any weird.
Yeah, they are very.
Very.
I'll
don't
have to
need
find
to.
another.
I find Google Drive. If you store it on Google Drive, you can have different folders for everything with multiple
No,
documents.
that I know, but
It's
my
a very
Google Drive
nice
is full now. So I'll
Ah.
have to either buy
No,
or
buy.
do
It's
it.
better to buy some more. This
Hmm.
thing. This is safest.
ठीक है.
I have these terabyte hard drives which are lying all over. I've even forgotten which I have got my photographs. It is only for photographs and books. So both of them have gone into the ether somewhere. They're lying about, but
All right. Tanushi, you're with us now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, at this point now, we will spread our wings out. And when you've got a complex set of designs on both sides, always it's good to start with something that's in the center. So we have a gentle S shape on both sides over here. That looks like wings. Then you have another stroke. So now what I'm doing is I'm just adding strokes to it. There's one stroke. It's not exactly parallel. It's slightly smaller. And then between these two, there are 3 strokes. So you'll see that there's a gap. I'm keeping a gap between these. And I'll explain how the gaps will work. So we are essentially just drawing strokes here. When we paint this, we are going to make this entire thing with one fat brush. So if you can notice this, it's a fat brush that makes just one stroke. So you have a nice dollop-like design, but you don't have to create this shape. Then as we come down, there are more strokes in slightly darker colors, and these are often made as fillers. So at this point, we can add our flowers. So you'll have one stalk going from the center over here, one stalk coming from here, one from here. Now, overall, if you notice, they try to maintain a certain outer line. You don't have suddenly one stalk that goes so far away and takes the eye away from the design. Everything is kept pretty much close to the center. So this is your line. Your flower doesn't go too much higher than the scroll over here. Then here you have the flower coming in such a way that these two are almost, they create a nice shape over here. These kinds of shapes are very important when we do design. As amateurs or as beginners, these are the unsaid or untaught elements in composition where we often make mistakes. And you'll see that, like if you have to draw a flower from here, often somebody will draw a flower that's going straight out and goes all the way here and can be very distracting, or it can go up. Now see how these are so well distributed, they almost look like a bouquet. Then you have a flower here. Oh, one of these also was supposed to mean to look like a bouquet. I think it's a Rogaland. I forgot to tell you. This looks often like a bouquet. One of the documentaries I'll share with you, there's an old gentleman who's described these styles so beautifully. Okay, and the last one is over here. And everything else is in addition to the flowers. So from the flowers, you have the next flourishes over here, here. You have these different strokes on the tops of flowers. Now, even the structure of the flowers, I'll just give you a minute to draw up all these. Tanushi, are you with me? Is the pace okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, with the flowers also, you'll notice the shapes are fairly simple. You just have C shapes and then another C shape, all converging towards the bottom. And then on the shape on top, you will have the blue shapes on top over here. You have a C shape and an S shape, S shape and a C shape. So this is quite peculiar, but it makes for a very cute design. All the flowers are more or less the same kinds. You have C shape, C shape, a little bulb here, another C, C. Likewise at the bottom. And then the tops are an S shape from the center and then C shape to support it. S shape and C shape. All the other lines, like the lighter lines, are made after your entire design is done. So you will have the light flourishing come out and create these shapes like this, like that golden shape over here. Over here, right? So these will just add more drama. There's one very nice structure here. So whenever you see a very complicated design made, it is usually layers of design elements put one on top of the other. So first you'll start off with the large shapes, the large colors, and then you will put in the smaller colors, the smaller shapes. Now let's take one or two elements from here and try to recreate them. So the first thing I want to show you is what is called brush manipulation. We'll be doing this with watercolor, and I want you to use 3 different sized brushes. There will be a large, medium, and a small detail brush. So I have a 6 number brush, 4, and I think this is 0. Okay, now using the, I want you to just see this first and then do it for yourselves. So before you wet the brush, just see the action that is required. You will be, in most cases, pressing the brush down a certain amount and then lifting it up so that you get a nice narrow end. Let me show this to you. The colors can be medium, watery to nice and thick. I'm making small shapes because they'll be easier to manage. So if we are making the first C shape over here, start off with the small shapes first. So press and pull, and as you're pulling it up, you lift the brush up. So automatically you get this little teardrop shape. Then don't do it, just watch. Then from here, manipulate this such that you get a nice fat stroke here. As you come down, you lift so that you don't add too much thickness to the stem over here. This will be the next scroll. And it's easier to build these scrolls to a larger size. Then after this, you have the next scroll. And then just on its own back, you can take it down further. And now in this case, if you feel comfortable, you can also turn the book so that you can make it in the most comfortable stroke. And here you can make it a circle. Now there, it's a white circle there, so I'm not going to paint this part. But these designs that we see have been made mostly in modern colors like acrylic. So our results are not going to look like the picture that you see. They will not be this bright. So we are not going to be using white. So wherever you have white, you can just leave it unpainted. Now I have another stroke here, which is white. So I'm going to leave it like this. There's another one over here. I can make it like this. And there is a white stroke over there, but I can make it like this. Now this is artificially creating these strokes. The first strokes are what we have to create. Okay, do you want to give this a shot? So build one. This is one.
So which number brush will we use, Aditi?
Use the, I think I use the 6 number brush first.
Okay.
What color is this?
This is cobalt blue, this one.
This one.
And do it slowly. Don't be in a rush. Now, when you're drawing these things, these shapes tend to be made better if you are sitting comfortably. So if your hand is not moving easily, just check if your elbow is encumbered. Whoops. Sorry, the stand just came in my hand. So if you don't have enough room around you, that can happen. Shapes like these require your hand to move with relative freedom. So if you're sitting someplace where your shoulders are, or the height of your table is too close, then your hand movement is restricted and you tend to make flat tops. But if you're sitting in such a way that your elbows are straight down and your hand can move freely, then you can create all sorts of shapes. It's just a matter of how your elbows stay. I found over time there are lots of things you can blame for being bad at art. And you are just 1 out of 5.
I need better brushes, Aditi. I know this sounds like a bad carpenter.
No, no.
The tip of this brush just doesn't listen to a bend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I need to go and I don't know. I'll just see maybe another one does better.
You do need brushes that are better. If they're
You know,
not
anything that you think I should just a couple that I need, you know, like I need that one and a 6 and something in between and a thick one. Thick ones you can still, you know, like have a thick fat thing 8, which usually works good. But I don't have anything thicker than an 8. So for big watercolors like wetting a page and all, I struggle, you know. Or do I? No, I do have.
then just get a 1/2 inch
11.
flat brush.
Okay.
For wetting a large paper, you need a flat brush. So what I was showing you was the height of the table. You need to be seated such that your hands are free to move. And very often our tables, now this is a very low table, our tables are at this height. Most people's dining table chair ratio is such that we sit at this height. So when you're doing any kind of art, you're generally doing it like this. If you need to move your hand around, it has to move like that, which is very uncomfortable. So if you can just get a cushion, sit on the cushion, boost yourself up a little bit, and keep your elbows. I mean, imagine if you were to attach a pencil to your elbow and draw with that, how much space would you need and what kind of comfort you would need? That is the kind of comfort you should have. And funnily enough, it is very comfortable if you're sitting on the floor using a drawing board. That is our body's ratio. It's the tables that screw up sometimes. So when all else fails, just sit on the floor, cross your legs, take some kind of drawing board on your lap, and then that is a proportion that you can really work with. So in the absence of a floor, you can use a booster.
Aditi, will you be sharing these videos since you're recording them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe I've not shared with you in the past because you're not in the group, but I'll add you in the group. Usually within a day or so, I'll share the link.
Sure.
Okay, now for the S curve, we can use a combination of sap green and viridian green for that. And we might also use a little bit of lemon yellow as a little embellishment. So starting with a combination of lemon yellow, sap green, and viridian green, you can just observe this for now. I'm going to make my first short curve here. So it's not the long one. I'm going to make a curve it's still an S curve, but press the brush down and bring the line downward. And then I will use, because these colors they've used are opaque colors, you can use them reverse as well. You can make the big shape first and then the small shape. And you bring it right next to the existing curve so that it all becomes nice and narrow. And here I'm going to use a darker color, just dipped into the viridian green. And then another C shape from here would be pressing the brush down and then picking it up. So this is all brush manipulation. And the last stroke will be with the yellow. So here again, press it down, twist the brush a little bit and pull it closer. And more yellows over here, which are just embellishments. Now notice that in many of the designs, these colors are blending. They're not really pure colors. You will have a green and a blue, green and a yellow mixing. And that itself also creates its own beauty. Now I'm going to use white mixed with green. We rarely use white. But here we'll use a white to create this last bit. And you'll see how this little bit of a color difference can make such a difference in how you can see this scroll. So I started with 1. Then this was 2 and 3. Then you had 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this was 9. So this is a strategy that I use every time I have to study or recreate an unknown artwork. I find its parts and isolate one part, recreate that, and then I will also write colors. So often I will do this. I will put down these colors so that you just become more familiar with colors, basically. And how colors look. So here I have sap plus viridian. Here I have lemon yellow plus sap. And here I have sap plus viridian plus white. Okay, now do you want to try recreating the flowers? So one flower on top over here. I will be doing it also, but it should be fairly simple. The structure is, maybe we can study the structure first. You can have a C, even a smaller or narrower C over here. And then bulbous, smaller C shapes on the outside. You have 4 petals in the center. These are white, so you need not paint them. And then you have this green and yellow base from where a line passes. Then you have an S shape on top, C completing it, another S and C, and S and C. I'm going to use the number 6 brush again. And starting with the lightest color, we can merge some colors. So let's start with the yellow first. And now here's another trick. You can use two brushes. So suppose I use yellow for the central, not the center stroke, for this first stroke over here. While it is wet, I can come in with an orange and a red. So this is my yellow brush. The second stroke, which is in the center, can be orange. Keep your paint a little thicker than normal. And then on the right of that, I can come in with scarlet. So I get this very nice color variation. I can repeat the same here by first putting in yellow. And then another C in its nestled within it with an orange. And then continue with the orange. Then maybe a little bit of yellow. I've just changed the color scheme over there. And over here, we can make it orange. Scarlet. And then a little bit of scarlet and white on the right. That's quite interesting. So it's just a gradation of color. Now we are putting this very consciously, but imagine you have three colors, just a dollop of nice thick acrylic yellow, orange and red. So you should just dump your brush first in yellow, then in orange, and then make this one stroke, and you'll automatically get that multicolored stroke. We don't have, I mean, you can do that in watercolor as well to some extent. So if I were to take yellow and a little bit of scarlet and try to make the stroke, I will get some kind of dual color. But it may not have the same kind of result. But it is possible. Just don't try to predict the design. Now, while it is wet, the thinner brush, which is the number 4, I can also put in a little bit of crimson. So there is a crimson here. And crimson here. And without any excess crimson, I'll just put a little bit over there. So at this stage, I just want to show you, before we proceed, I want to show you how brush manipulation works. Now take your size 4 brush and try these, any colors that you want to. Maybe we can try with crimson, nice thick color. Apart from just making lines and filling up space, our brush is able to do a lot more. So I just want to show you how the brush can be manipulated to create different kinds of shapes without really drawing the shape. So first I would like you to see it and then you can try it out. Let's start with just the lines. If you hold the brush upright and you make lines, you can get really thin lines. If you hold it upright but press down and make lines perpendicular to the direction of the brush, you can make fat lines. So for thin lines, you have to keep the brush parallel to the line that you're drawing. If you don't, then you'll end up making thick lines, which has its application. Then You can press the line down as well. So as you are moving, you can press the brush and create a shape. You can do this in various directions. So you can create a shape going up. Wherever you press, you'll notice that the brush is a little dry, so you might get jagged edges. It's simply because the brush is dry. When you press it down, most of the paint remains in the center, but the edges become a little drier. You can also create shapes like this, like a teardrop shape, with which you can make petals. And you can also press down and pull and make all sorts of shapes. So you can do things like these. You can make simple flowers like these. And these are exactly the same flowers that we are making. Now, if I were to add a second color, I can do this, press it down, and just pull it up. So you get a little bit of a fishtail happening here. But that's perfectly okay in the beginning. You will learn to control it. This is how a fishtail happens. This part becomes like a fishtail, and that's okay. Don't worry. You can wet the brush a little extra and make the stroke very slowly, and then you can avoid the fishtail. So press your brush down, and as you are moving, twist the brush towards the left, and you will avoid this fishtail. You just need enough time for the brush to gather together all its bristles. Then these are all the C shapes. Similarly, you can make an S shape, which is start from below, press down, turn to the right, and then turn to the left or straight up. This will create an S stroke. And we are going to need the stroke for the next flower or the tip of the flower. So you can make it as shallow as you want or as elongated as you want. You can start from the bottom. You can start from the top. You can move your book around to find the most comfortable angle for you to make all these strokes. Okay, so once you have practiced this, you will be able to make the next strokes much easier. I'm taking a little bit of that white and green mix along with a little bit of the blue. And right on top of this, I'm going to make that S shape. Now, if you're not making a short S shape, the tips of your flowers might grow much longer. But just observe this. Short S shape with two colors. Now you'll notice that a lot of this kind of design is done on our trucks. And there was a time that I absolutely hated the sight of the Indian trucks on the road. They were just so full and so jadak. But then I came across a wonderful book by somebody who was documenting truck design in India and Pakistan. And he's clicked hundreds of pictures of these decorated trucks, and he's had interviews with them, and he's asked them about whose picture have they put on the back. There's often some illustration or some gown. There's always some lady in a gown. So I felt so ashamed that I could not see the beauty of those designs. They are tacky, no doubt. I mean, that it
No,
doesn't
but
take away.
But the ladies still wear lungis and kurtas
Yeah.
and curly whirly shoes, and she'll have a parandi down her side. And tum kab ghar lautoge.
Yes, correct.
So sweet.
It is such a sweet emotion.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you think about it, that truck is so decked up like a dulhan.
Yeah. Yes. It's
So
their
it must,
home, kind of away from home, you know.
exactly. And it must be a certain sense of pride that you have
Yeah.
this decked up truck.
Yes.
They do their best, is what I finally decided and left it at that. And I learned to appreciate it very differently. Okay,
I
now,
read messages on backs of trucks very
yeah,
often. Wherever
even I
I'm.
did. I love them now.
Yeah.
They're like a story as
Yes.
you're traveling. They're very entertaining. All right, now, are we all till here, till this point? Okay, so since our design is going to be on white, not on the dark background like our reference image, the remaining design can be made in a deeper color. So you could create a deep shade of blue like this, mixing black, or crimson and black, or crimson and burnt umber, to make a darkest shade that can that with a fine brush you can use to add some ornamentation. So this is the bare bones color we get, but to this you can add these shapes. And now this part, if you're not comfortable drawing with pen, I realize that this can be quite a challenge. You can easily switch to a pen if you want to, if that makes you more comfortable, or even a pencil. Now from here, I'm going to draw a stem that comes downwards. Many of these lines are drawn freehand and they can be a little scary. But if you adjust your book and you allow for a free flow, just make the line in the air a little bit till you're comfortable. Make it in pencil if you want to. And you'll notice that many of these lines go beyond the flower. So just lift your pen or brush to come make this shape. Then you have a line that comes here. And now in this case, you have these teardrop shapes that you can recreate like that. Just press the brush down as you come to the bottom, to the nearer end. Rotate the book to make the shape in the other direction with, try to make these leaves with brush manipulation. Now there is a certain roughness or lack of finesse in these designs, and that comes probably from the fact that these designs are made by the hundreds on artifacts which are sold either to tourists or to locals as their regular products. They're not a museum piece. So the lines are, I mean, the artist will not have had enough time to create the lines that are required, that will require a certain amount of finesse. So you'll see that the lines are not always along the border. They might be a little off. And that is part of the charm of the design. Now here again, press the brush down and then pick it up, press it down. So this more or less covers all the shapes that you need to make for this Rosemaling. And if you just follow through all of these and just match the colors, you should be able to create some semblance of this design. But don't even try to attempt at 100% replica. It's not going to be possible. And it won't be even possible for the original artists themselves. As we know, you cannot recreate these kinds of free shapes. So even what 19 20 नहीं 10 20 भी हुआ is more than enough. If your colors change, it's perfectly fine. If your shapes are a little odd, that's okay. If this is your first Rosemaling, nobody is able to make their Rosemalings perfectly the first time. They are complicated shapes. So give it some time. Okay. So
I think for me, I think I'll have to practice those strokes. It's not easy, those teardrop and
I have
S's and C's.
Yeah, I have pointed brushes. It's I need a little rounder brush. You know, with a pointed brush to get a curve in the beginning is very difficult.
So for a pointed brush, you don't start with a blob and
With
down.
a blob.
You start with one side of the blob and then complete it on the other
And then
side.
do the okay.
So there is some kind of brush which Susan had said we get, which has a roundish top, and that
Yes.
these are one of the specialty brushes, not the ones which are curved or round or pointed like that. Very
Yeah,
fancy.
or a fan.
Yeah, I think they are delightful. At some point, if you want to do some time pass with them, because you have to just, they're easy. They look easy, but usually with these tools, you can do more stuff also, something different as well, if you apply yourself. So these ones with the rounded edges are very nice to make.
These flourishes like this.
So you can try that if you want to, or you can straight away just draw the shape and make it also. I've done that. You don't have to, if you don't get the strokes, it's fine. So the link that I'll share with you, the links I have copied in one document. So I'll be sharing those right away. Do go through the Reddit of this girl who's made the bullet journal. She has not put the Reddit, her pictures of a bullet journal in the article that she's written. She has given you a link to another place where she has stored the images. So please go there and you'll see that she's constantly apologizing, saying, I'm no artist, my lines are messy, my colors are messy. So you get to see how she has still just braved her way through that and created those pages. The shapes are all over the place, but they definitely look like a Rosemaling. Whatever you do, just a little bit of integrity to those shapes and forms, and it'll look fine. Okay?
Yes.
All right. So
can you add me to the group?
I'll add you to the group, yes.
Yeah.
So next week, we are starting design. We will be doing surface pattern design first, then a book jacket design, one more cookbook design, so recipe illustration. So hopefully we can do that book that you suggested sometime. And the last one is, I've forgotten, I just written it down, but again, all design related.
Maybe, yeah, are you going to do the boxes again?
We could do the boxes because with surface pattern, they're good for boxes as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so I'll see you all next week.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.